The alarm screamed through the cargo ship's bridge. Deho sat up straight in his captain's chair and stared at the screen. A distress signal blinked red against the black of space. He rubbed his tired eyes and checked the coordinates. The signal came from somewhere nearby, maybe an hour away at full speed. His crew of 4 looked at him from their stations. They all knew what he was thinking. Distress signals could mean trouble. They could mean pirates. They could mean a trap. But they could also mean someone needed help. "Captain, we should ignore it," said his first officer, Byung-ho. The older man had seen too many bad things in space. "We're carrying medical supplies. If pirates catch us, people on 3 colonies will die waiting for medicine." Deho knew Byung-ho was right. He knew the smart choice was to keep flying. But he also knew he couldn't live with himself if he left someone to die in the dark. "We check it out," Deho said, "but carefully. If anything looks wrong, we jump away fast." The ship turned toward the signal. Through the window, Deho could see nothing but stars and darkness. Space was big and empty and cold. It was easy to die out here. It was easy to disappear and never be found. An hour later, they found the wreckage. A ship floated in pieces, broken and burning in some places. It was alien design, not human. The hull was dark purple and covered in strange symbols. Deho had seen ships like this before. They belonged to the Velkari. Everyone on the bridge became very quiet. The Velkari were known across the galaxy as warriors. They were tall and strong with sharp teeth and sharper claws. They had attacked human colonies before. They took what they wanted and left destruction behind. "We should go," Byung-ho said quietly. "Whatever happened here, it's not our problem." But Deho saw something on the scanner. Life signs. 3 of them, very small, inside what was left of the ship. His hand hovered over the controls. Every logical part of his brain said to leave. But something deeper, something human, wouldn't let him. "Scan for other ships," he ordered. "If we're alone, I'm going over there." The scanner showed nothing else nearby. Whatever had destroyed the Velkari ship was gone. Deho stood up and grabbed his spacesuit from the locker. "You're serious about this?" Byung-ho asked. 3 life signs, Deho said as he pulled on the suit. "Small ones. Could be children." "They're Velkari," Byung-ho reminded him. "They're children," Deho repeated. He crossed from his ship to the wreckage using a cable line. Inside the alien ship was a mess. Broken metal hung from the ceiling. Fires burned in some rooms, and in others everything had frozen solid. The air was thin and toxic. Deho was glad for his suit. He followed his scanner toward the life signs. They were in what looked like a cargo hold at the back of the ship. When he cut through the door, he found them. 3 Velkari cubs huddled together in a corner. They were small, maybe the size of human 10-year-olds. Their fur was gray and soft, not yet the dark color of adults. They had big eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. When they saw Deho, they pressed closer together and made frightened sounds. One of them, the biggest, stepped in front of the others. She was trying to protect them even though she was scared. Blood stained her fur from a cut on her arm. All 3 cubs were injured. All 3 were shaking from cold and fear. Deho spoke softly even though they couldn't understand his words. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." He moved slowly, keeping his hands where they could see them. The big cub growled at him, showing her small, sharp teeth, but she was too weak to do much else. Deho pulled emergency blankets from his pack. They were silver and thin but very warm. He held one out to the cubs. They didn't move. They just stared at him with those big yellow eyes. So Deho did something that his crew would call crazy. He took off his helmet. The air was bad but breathable for a few minutes. He wanted them to see his face. He wanted them to know he meant no harm. "Come on," he said gently. "You'll freeze if you stay here." The big cub tilted her head, studying him. Slowly, very slowly, she reached out and touched the blanket. It was warm. She pulled it close and wrapped it around the smaller cubs. Then she looked at Deho with something like question in her eyes. He smiled and wrapped another blanket around her shoulders. She flinched but didn't pull away. Up close, he could see she was very young. Just a child, scared and hurt and alone. "Let's get you somewhere safe," Deho said. Getting all 3 cubs back to his ship took time. They didn't trust him at first. But they were cold and hurt, and his ship had heat and light. One by one, they followed him across the cable line. His crew's faces were shocked when they saw what he was bringing aboard. "Medical bay," Deho ordered. Now, the cubs were in bad shape. They had cuts and burns. They were hungry and exhausted. Deho worked carefully, cleaning wounds and wrapping bandages. The cubs watched his every move. When he brought them food, they ate like they were starving. When he brought them water, they drank until the bowls were empty. That night, Deho set up beds for them in an empty storage room. He gave them more blankets, soft and warm. The cubs touched the blankets like they had never felt anything so gentle. Maybe they hadn't. From what Daiho knew, Velkari raised their young to be hard and strong. Softness wasn't part of their world. He tucked the blankets around each cub, making sure they were comfortable. The little ones fell asleep immediately, exhausted, but the big one stayed awake watching him. "Sleep," Daiho said softly. "You're safe now." She didn't understand his words, but maybe she understood his meaning. Her eyes closed slowly. For the first time since he found them, she let herself rest. Daiho stood in the doorway for a moment, watching them sleep. He knew this was going to cause problems. He knew people would question his choice. But looking at those 3 small cubs wrapped in blankets and finally safe, he knew he had made the right decision. Sometimes being human meant doing the hard thing. Sometimes it meant taking a risk for someone who couldn't help themselves, even if that someone was supposed to be your enemy. He dimmed the lights and closed the door quietly. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight 3 children were warm and safe, and that was enough. Morning came quietly on the ship. Daiho woke early like always and went to check on the cubs. He opened the storage room door carefully, not wanting to scare them. All 3 were awake, sitting together on one bed. They looked at him with those big yellow eyes, silent and watchful. "Good morning," Daiho said with a smile. He held up his hands to show he wasn't carrying anything dangerous. "Are you hungry?" The cubs didn't answer. They probably couldn't understand him, but their ears moved forward, listening to the sound of his voice. The biggest cub, the one who had protected the others, stood up slowly. She was still wrapped in the silver blanket. Daiho pulled out his data pad and started working. The ship's computer had information about many alien species. He found the Velkari files and started learning their language. It was full of growls and sharp sounds, hard for human mouths to make. But he tried anyway. "I am Daiho," he said slowly in Velkari, reading from the pad. The words came out wrong, but close enough. The big cub's eyes went wide. She took a step closer. Then she pointed to herself and said something. Daiho's pad translated it. "Rena." "Rena," Daiho repeated, smiling. He pointed to the other 2 cubs. "And them?" Rena looked at her siblings. The middle cub, a boy, said his name, Taemin. The smallest, another girl, whispered, "Hana." "Rena, Taemin, and Hana," Daiho said, nodding to each of them. "I'm happy to meet you, even if the situation is bad." Through his pad, he asked if they were hurt anywhere else. Rena lifted her arm, showing him the bandage he had put on yesterday. She touched it carefully, like she was surprised it didn't hurt more. Daiho checked all 3 cubs again. Their wounds were healing well. "Breakfast," he said, making eating motions with his hands. "Come with me." The cubs followed him to the ship's small kitchen. They walked close together, ready to run if needed. Everything about the ship was strange to them. The metal walls, the humming engines, the way everything smelled like humans and human food. Daiho cooked something simple, eggs and rice, vegetables on the side. He wasn't sure what Velkari ate, but the computer said they could digest most proteins. He put plates in front of them and sat down to eat his own food. Rena watched him take the first bite. Then she tried her food. Her ears went up in surprise. She said something quickly to the others. They all started eating fast, like they couldn't believe how good it tasted. "Slow down," Daiho laughed. "There's plenty. You can have more." Over the next few days, a routine formed. Daiho would wake up, check on the cubs, and bring them breakfast. He would spend time teaching them human words while they taught him Velkari words. It was slow going, but they were all learning. Byung-ho and the rest of the crew stayed away from the cubs mostly. They were still nervous. These were Velkari after all. But they saw how Daiho treated them, how gentle he was. And slowly, they started to understand what their captain had known from the start. These weren't enemy warriors. They were just scared kids. Taemin was curious about everything. He followed Daiho around the ship, watching him work. When Daeho fixed a broken panel, Taemin stood next to him trying to see how it was done. When Daeho navigated through an asteroid field, Taemin pressed his face against the window, watching the rocks float by. Hana was quieter. She stayed close to Rina most of the time, but Daeho noticed she liked music. When he played songs from Earth on the ship's speakers, she would sit very still and listen. Her tail would move slowly back and forth like she was keeping time. Rina was the hardest to reach. She was always watching, always careful. She stood between her siblings and any danger, real or imagined. She ate last, making sure the others had enough first. She slept lightly, waking up at every small sound. One evening after dinner, Daeho sat with them in the storage room that had become their space. Through his pad, he asked Rina what had happened to their ship. Her face became sad. She spoke slowly, and the pad translated. We were with our family. Many ships, traveling together. Then attackers came. Big ships with many weapons. They destroyed everything. My parents put us in the cargo hold and told us to hide. We heard fighting. Then nothing. When we came out, everyone was gone. The ship was broken. Daeho felt his heart hurt for them. I'm sorry, he said. That must have been very scary. Why did you save us? Rina asked suddenly. Humans and Velkari are not friends. We have fought before. It was a good question. Daeho thought about how to answer. Your people and my people have had problems, yes, he said. But you three didn't do anything wrong. You're children. You needed help. That's enough reason. Velkari don't help others, Rina said. We take what we need. We fight to survive. That's what we're taught. Maybe that's what adults do, Daeho said. But you're not adults yet. You can choose what kind of person you want to be. Rina stared at him for a long time. She was thinking hard about his words. Finally, she asked, What will happen to us? Where are you taking us? There's a space station 3 days away, Daeho explained. They have people who can help you. They can find out if any of your family survived. They can make sure you get home. Home, Hana said softly. It was one of the first human words she had learned. That night, Daeho tucked them in again with their blankets. It had become a habit now. Every night he made sure they were comfortable. He would pull the blankets up, check that the room temperature was good, and wish them good sleep. The cubs had stopped looking confused by this. Hana actually smiled when he tucked her blanket around her shoulders. Taemin said thank you in careful human words, but Rina still watched him with those serious eyes. Why do you do this? She asked as he was about to leave. The blankets every night, making sure we're warm. We're not your cubs. Daeho stopped in the doorway. No, he agreed, but you're children far from home. You're scared and hurt. This is what we do for children. We take care of them. We make sure they feel safe. Even enemy children? Rina asked. You're not my enemy, Daeho said firmly. You're 3 kids who needed help. That's all that matters. He turned off the lights and closed the door. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. In 3 days, they would reach the station. He would hand the cubs over to people who knew how to deal with these situations. He would go back to his normal job, delivering cargo across space, but something told him that these 3 days were changing something. Not just for the cubs, but for him too. Maybe even for the relationship between humans and Velkari. Small kindnesses could ripple outward in unexpected ways. Inside the room, Rina lay awake under her blanket. Her siblings slept peacefully beside her. For the first time since the attack, she felt something strange. She felt safe. This human, Daeho, had shown them nothing but kindness. He fed them, healed them, and protected them. He tucked them in with soft blankets every night like they were precious. Velkari didn't do these things. But maybe, Rina thought, maybe they should. Maybe strength wasn't just about fighting. Maybe it was also about taking care of those who couldn't take care of themselves. She closed her eyes and pulled the blanket closer. Tomorrow she would watch Daeho more carefully. She would learn from him. And maybe, somehow, She would find a way to thank him for everything he had done. The ship moved steadily toward the space station. 2 more days of travel remained. Daeho spent the morning on the bridge checking systems and making sure everything worked properly. Taemin sat in the chair next to him, watching everything with bright, curious eyes. "What does this button do?" Taemin asked in his careful human words. He was learning fast. "That controls the forward thrusters," Daeho explained. "It helps us speed up or slow down. Can I press it?" "Not right now," Daeho said with a smile. "Maybe later when we're not moving." Taemin nodded, accepting this. He had learned that Daeho always explained things. He never got angry at questions. This was different from how Velkari adults treated cubs. They expected cubs to learn by watching, not by asking. An alarm beeped. Daeho looked at his screen and frowned. A ship was approaching fast. It wasn't broadcasting any identification signal. That was never a good sign. "Byung-ho," Daeho called to his first officer. "What do we know about that ship?" Byung-ho worked his console quickly. His face became worried. "It's a Raider-class vessel. Heavily armed." "They're matching our course." Daeho's stomach sank. "Pirates." Of course it had to be pirates. He had hoped to make it to the station without trouble. "Are they hailing us?" he asked. "Yes, they want us to stop and prepare to be boarded." "Tell them we're a medical transport," Daeho said. "We have nothing worth taking." But he knew it wouldn't work. Pirates didn't care about medical supplies, and if they had scanners good enough, they might know about the Velkari cubs aboard. Velkari cubs could be sold for a lot of money to the right buyer. "Captain, they're not listening," Byung-ho said. "They're coming alongside." "We can't outrun them," Daeho thought fast. His ship had no weapons. They were a cargo vessel, built for carrying things, not fighting. If the pirates boarded, there was nothing he could do to stop them, unless he could hide what they were really after. "Taemin, go back to your room," Daeho said urgently. "Get your sisters. Hide in the emergency supply closet at the end of the hall. Don't make any sounds. Don't come out until I come get you. Understand?" Taemin's eyes went wide. He understood danger when he saw it. "Bad people coming?" "Yes, very bad. Go now." Taemin ran. Daeho watched him disappear down the corridor, then turned to his crew. "They'll board us. Let them take whatever they want. Don't fight. Don't give them a reason to hurt anyone." "What about the cubs?" Byung-ho asked quietly. "I'll handle it," Daeho said. "Just follow my lead." The pirate ship clamped onto theirs with a loud clang. Daeho heard cutting tools working on the airlock. His heart pounded. He had to protect those cubs. He had promised them safety. The airlock burst open. 6 pirates entered the ship, all carrying weapons. They were a mixed group. 2 humans, 3 aliens that Daeho didn't recognize, and 1 who looked like a modified cyborg. Their leader, one of the humans, smiled nastily. "Well, well," the pirate said. "A nice quiet cargo ship. This should be easy." "Take what you want," Daeho said, keeping his voice calm. "We won't resist." "Smart man." The pirate walked around the bridge looking at everything. "What are you carrying?" "Medical supplies for colony stations. Basic stuff. Bandages, medicine, nothing expensive." The pirate laughed. "You think we're stupid? Our sensors picked up Velkari life signs on this ship. 3 of them. Small ones. Cubs are worth a fortune on the black market." Daeho's blood ran cold. "I don't know what your sensors are picking up. There are no Velkari here. Then you won't mind if we search." The pirate gestured to his crew. "Tear this ship apart. Find those cubs." The pirates spread out through the ship. Daeho watched helplessly as they opened doors and searched rooms. His crew stood frozen, unable to help. Byung-ho looked at Daeho with worried eyes. In the supply closet, the 3 cubs pressed together in the dark. They could hear footsteps and voices. Heavy boots walking past their hiding place. Rena held her brother and sister close, one hand over Hana's mouth to keep her quiet. "Found something," one of the pirates yelled from down the corridor. Daeho's heart stopped. He ran toward the voice, followed by 2 pirates with guns. They were standing outside the storage room where the cubs had been staying. Blankets were scattered everywhere. The food bowls were still there from breakfast. "They were here," the pirate said, picking up a blanket. "Recently." "Where are they?" "They left," Daeho lied. "I dropped them off at a station yesterday." The pirate hit him hard across the face. Daeho fell to the ground, tasting blood. "Don't lie to me." "Our sensors don't lie. Those cubs are on this ship somewhere." They searched for another hour. They opened every door, checked every room. They came close to the supply closet several times. Inside, the cubs barely breathed. Rena's claws extended, ready to fight if the door opened. She wouldn't let them take her siblings without a fight. But Daeho had chosen the hiding spot well. The supply closet was behind a panel that looked like part of the wall. Most people didn't know it was there. The pirates walked past it 3 times without noticing. Finally, frustrated and angry, the pirate leader came back to Daeho. "Last chance. Tell me where they are, or I start shooting your crew." Daeho looked at Byung-ho and the others. They were scared but trying to be brave. He couldn't let them die, but he couldn't give up the cubs either. They trusted him. They believed he would keep them safe. "I told you," Daeho said through bloody lips. "They're not here." The pirate raised his gun and pointed it at Byung-ho's head. "Fine, then he dies first." Time seemed to slow down. Daeho saw the pirate's fingers start to squeeze the trigger. He saw Byung-ho close his eyes. He saw his own failure to protect everyone he cared about. Then he heard a sound that made his blood freeze. A low, dangerous growl from somewhere in the ship. The pirates heard it too. They spun around, weapons ready. The growl came again, louder this time. It was joined by 2 more growls, younger and higher pitched. "What was that?" one of the pirates asked nervously. The supply closet panel burst open. 3 Velkari cubs exploded out, moving faster than anything that small should move. Rena led the charge, her small fangs bared, her claws extended. She went straight for the pirate leader. He was bigger than her, stronger than her, but he wasn't expecting a Velkari cub to attack with such fury. Rena hit him like a missile, knocking the gun from his hand. Her claws raked across his arm, and he screamed. Taemin and Hana followed their sister. Taemin jumped onto another pirate's back, biting and scratching. Hana, small as she was, tripped a 3rd pirate and sent him crashing into a wall. The ship erupted into chaos. The pirates tried to fight back, but the cubs were too fast, too wild. They had been raised by warriors taught to survive. That training came out now, fierce and unstoppable. Daeho didn't waste the moment. He grabbed the fallen gun and pointed it at the nearest pirate. "Don't move!" The pirate froze. So did the others, seeing their leader bleeding on the ground with a furious Velkari cub standing on his chest. Rena looked at Daeho. Her eyes were wild, full of anger and fear and determination. She had made a choice. She had decided to fight. Not for herself, but for the human who had tucked her in with blankets and made her feel safe. "You saved us," she growled in Velkari. The translation device on the wall picked it up and spoke in human language. "Now we save you." Daeho felt something break inside his chest. These cubs, these children, had risked everything to protect him, just like he had risked everything to protect them. "Thank you," he said softly. Then louder to the pirates, "Get off my ship now, or these cubs will show you exactly why Velkari are feared across the galaxy." The pirates didn't need to be told twice. They grabbed their wounded leader and ran for their ship. Within minutes, they had disconnected and fled into space. When they were gone, Daeho collapsed against the wall. The adrenaline was wearing off and he was shaking. The cubs came to him immediately, pressing close like they had that first night when he found them. "You could have stayed hidden," Daeho said. "You could have been safe." "You protected us," Rena said simply. "We protect you. That's what family does. Family." The word hung in the air. That's what they had become, Daeho realized. Not captain and passengers. Not human and alien, family. The medical bay smelled like antiseptic and blood. Daeho sat on the examination table while Byung-ho cleaned the cut on his face. The pirate's hit had split his lip and bruised his cheek badly. His ribs hurt too, probably from when he fell. "Hold still," Byung-ho said, dabbing at the wound. "This is going to sting." Daeho winced as the medicine touched his cut. Across the room, the 3 cubs watched with worried eyes. They sat together on another bed, still breathing hard from the fight. Taemin had a scratch on his shoulder. Hana's paw was bleeding a little. Rena looked unhurt, but there was something different in her eyes now. Something harder and older. "I'm okay," Daeho told them, trying to smile. It hurt his face. "You 3 were very brave, but also very foolish. You could have been hurt. You could have been killed. So could you," Rena said quietly. If we did nothing, she was right, and Daeho knew it. The pirate would have shot Byung-ho. Maybe the rest of the crew too. The cubs had saved them all by fighting back. Still, Daeho said, "You're children. It's not your job to protect adults." "You protected us first," Taemin pointed out. His human words were getting better every day. "You could have left us in broken ship. But you didn't. That was different. How? Rena asked. She tilted her head, studying him. You were in danger by saving us. We were in danger by saving you. Same thing. Deho didn't have a good answer for that. Maybe it was the same thing. Maybe that's what caring about someone meant. You protected them even when it was dangerous, even when it was foolish. After Byung-ho finished treating Daeho's wounds, they treated the cubs. Taemin's scratch wasn't deep. Hana's paw just needed a bandage. They were lucky. Things could have gone much worse. That evening, Daeho made dinner for everyone. His hand shook a little as he cooked. The fear from earlier was still in his body, making him clumsy. He dropped a spoon twice before Rena gently took it from him and handed it back. Sit, she said firmly. We cook tonight. You don't know how, Daeho protested. We watch you every day, Taemin said. He was already pulling out vegetables from the cooler. We learn. So Daeho sat and watched as 3 Velkari cubs tried to make dinner. They argued about how to cut the vegetables. They burned the rice a little. They used too much salt in the soup, but they worked together and eventually they produced something that looked almost like food. It's terrible, Hana said sadly, staring at her creation. It's perfect, Daeho said, and he meant it. He ate every bite, even though the rice was crunchy and the soup was too salty, because it wasn't about the food. It was about 3 children trying to take care of the person who had taken care of them. After dinner, they all sat in the common room. Usually, this was when Daeho would tell them stories about Earth, but tonight he was too tired and too sore. He just wanted to sit quietly and be grateful that everyone was alive. Daeho, Rena said after a while, what happens when we reach the station? He had been thinking about that all day. They'll have people who can help you. People who can find out if any of your family survived the attack. They can contact your government, arrange for you to go home. What if there's no home? Hana asked in a small voice. What if our family is all dead? The question hung heavy in the air. Daeho didn't want to think about it, but he had to be honest. Then they'll find you a new home. There are programs for orphaned cubs. Places where you can live and grow up safely. Together? Taemin asked quickly. We stay together? I don't know, Daeho admitted. I hope so. Rena stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars drifted past in the endless dark of space. I don't want to go to a program, she said. I don't want strangers taking care of us. What do you want? Daeho asked gently. She turned and looked at him. I want to stay with you. The words hit Daeho like a physical blow. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Taemin and Hana were nodding, agreeing with their sister. You can't, Daeho finally said. I'm a cargo ship captain. I travel through dangerous space. I can't take care of 3 cubs. You already do, Rena pointed out. You feed us. You teach us. You keep us safe. You tuck us in with blankets every night. Her voice became softer. You make us feel like we matter. You do matter, Daeho said, his throat tight. You matter so much. But this isn't a good life for children. You need stability. You need a real home. Home is not a place, Rena said. It's people who care about you. You taught us that. Daeho looked at Byung-ho, hoping for help, but the older man just shrugged. She's got a point, Captain. This is crazy, Daeho said. I can't just keep 3 Velkari cubs. There are laws, regulations. Your people won't allow it. Our people left us to die, Rena said, and there was bitterness in her voice. They ran from the fight. They didn't come back for us. You did. A human came back. A human saved us. Why should we trust Velkari adults more than you? It was a good question, and Daeho didn't have a good answer. He knew the cubs were getting attached to him. Truth was, he was getting attached to them too. These past few days had changed something in him. His ship felt less lonely with them around. His purpose felt bigger than just delivering cargo, but wanting something and being able to do it were different things. Let's just get to the station, Daeho said finally. We'll figure everything out there, okay? The cubs nodded, but they didn't look happy. That night when Daeho went to tuck them in, the mood was sad. Hana hugged him extra tight. Taemin asked if he would visit them at their new home. Rena just watched him with those serious eyes. Whatever happens, Daeho said as he pulled their blankets up, I want you to know something. Meeting you 3 has been one of the best things that ever happened to me. You're brave and kind and amazing. Any family would be lucky to have you. We already have family, Rena said quietly. You. Daeho's eyes burned with tears he wouldn't let fall. Not in front of them. He needed to be strong. Sleep well, he said. Big day tomorrow. We reached the station in the morning. He turned off the lights and left the room. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and let out a long, shaky breath. Byung-ho was waiting for him. You know you want to keep them, the older man said. Want and can are different things, Dae-ho replied. Are they? You're the captain. You make the decisions. If you want those cubs to stay, fight for them. What if I can't give them what they need? Dae-ho asked. What if I'm not good enough? Byung-ho put a hand on his shoulder. Captain, those cubs fought trained pirates to protect you. They trust you completely. They love you. And whether you admit it or not, you love them too. Sometimes that's all that matters. In their room, Rena lay awake under her blanket. She could hear her siblings breathing softly. Already asleep. But she couldn't sleep. Tomorrow they would reach the station. Tomorrow everything would change. She thought about programs and strangers and being separated from Taemin and Hana. She thought about never seeing Dae-ho again. Never hearing his laugh or eating his cooking or feeling safe under the blankets he tucked around her. No. She wouldn't let that happen. She didn't know how yet, but she would find a way. Dae-ho had fought for them. Now she would fight for him. For this strange, kind human who had shown her what family really meant. She closed her eyes and made a promise to herself. Tomorrow she would make sure they stayed together. All of them. Whatever it took. The space station appeared in the window like a giant wheel spinning slowly in the dark. It was huge, with lights twinkling from thousands of windows. Ships of all sizes docked at the outer ring. Dae-ho had been here many times before, but today felt different. Today he was bringing 3 Valkyrie cubs to an uncertain future. The cubs pressed against the window, staring at the station with wide eyes. They had never seen anything so big. Taemin pointed at different ships, asking questions. Hana held Rena's hand tightly. Rena just watched in silence, her face unreadable. Dae-ho's ship docked smoothly. Station security was waiting at the airlock. So were officials from the diplomatic corps and, surprisingly, a Valkyrie delegation. Word had traveled fast about the cubs. Captain Dae-ho, said the human official, a woman named Ji-won. We received your message about the rescued Valkyrie children. This is quite an unusual situation. They needed help, Dae-ho said simply. I helped them. The Valkyrie delegation consisted of 3 adults, tall and imposing in their dark armor. Their leader, a female warrior named Sukja, stepped forward. Her eyes found the cubs immediately. She studied them with an expression Dae-ho couldn't read. You are the ones from the destroyed convoy? Sukja asked in perfect human language. Rena straightened her back, trying to look brave. Yes, Commander. Your families? Sukja asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. All dead, Rena said quietly. We were the only survivors. Sukja nodded slowly. The attack was brutal. 15 ships destroyed, 347 dead. You 3 are indeed the only survivors found. The numbers hit hard. Hana made a small sound of grief. Taemin's ears drooped. Even Rena, who was trying so hard to be strong, looked devastated. What happens to them now? Dae-ho asked, moving to stand beside the cubs. A protective gesture that everyone noticed. They will return with us to Velkar, Sukja said. They will be placed in training facilities. They will learn to be warriors, as is our way. Training facilities? Dae-ho repeated. You mean orphanages? We don't have orphanages as you understand them, Sukja explained. Cubs without families join the warrior schools. They train, they fight, they become strong. It's an honorable path. They're children, Dae-ho said, his voice rising. They need love and care, not just training. They are Valkyrie, Sukja replied firmly. This is our way. You cannot understand our culture from your human perspective. Ji-won stepped between them. Perhaps we should let the children speak. What do you want? All eyes turned to the cubs. Rena looked at her siblings, then at Dae-ho, then at the Valkyrie adults. She took a deep breath. We want to stay with Dae-ho, she said clearly. Sukja's eyebrows rose. That's impossible. You belong with your own kind? Our own kind left us to die, Rena shot back, her voice stronger now. Dae-ho saved us, he fed us. He healed our wounds. He tucked us in with blankets every night and made sure we felt safe. He taught us we have value beyond fighting. He is more family to us than any Valkyrie has been. You're too young to understand, Sukja began, but Rena cut her off. I watched my parents die. I kept my siblings alive in a broken ship. I fought pirates to protect the human who protected us. Don't tell me I'm too young to understand anything. The passion in her voice surprised everyone. This wasn't just a scared cub anymore. This was someone who knew exactly what she wanted and why. Taemin stepped forward. Daeho teaches us things. Not just fighting. He teaches us about stars and planets, about cooking and fixing machines, about being kind to people who need help. That's important too. He reads us stories, Hana added softly, and plays music, and asks if we're happy. No one ever asked us that before. Sukja looked uncomfortable. You've been with this human for less than a week. You don't understand what you're asking for. I understand perfectly, Rena said. Valkyrie Way says we should be hard and strong and alone. Human Way says we should be cared for and valued and together. I choose Human Way. I choose Daeho. Jiwon was writing notes frantically. This was creating an interesting problem. Valkyrie cubs wanting to stay with a human captain. It could be a diplomatic incident, or it could be something else entirely. Captain Daeho, Jiwon said carefully. Do you want to keep these cubs? Daeho looked down at Rena, Taemin, and Hana. 3 pairs of yellow eyes stared up at him full of hope and trust and love. His heart felt too big for his chest. Yes, he said, more than anything. But I'm just a cargo captain. I don't have a permanent home. I travel through dangerous space. I can barely take care of myself, let alone 3 cubs. We help, Taemin said quickly. We cook, we clean, we help fix things. We don't need perfect home, Rena added. We need someone who cares if we live or die. Someone who tucks us in with blankets and makes us feel like we matter. You already do all that, Hana whispered. Please don't send us away. Daeho felt tears in his eyes and didn't bother hiding them anymore. I would love to keep you, he said honestly. But it's not just up to me. There are laws and rules and actually, Jiwon interrupted. There might be a way. The Interspecies Guardianship Act allows for cross-species adoption in cases where the children's welfare is at risk and where strong bonds have formed. Given that these cubs have no living relatives and given their clear attachment to you, we could make a case. The Valkyrie government would have to approve, Sukja said, but she didn't sound as firm as before. She was watching the cubs carefully, seeing how they clustered around Daeho like he was their shelter in a storm. Would you approve? Daeho asked her directly. Sukja was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she sighed. Our way is harsh. We believe it makes us strong. But perhaps, she looked at the cubs again. Perhaps we lose something important by being so hard. These cubs have been through trauma. Maybe they need gentleness now more than strength. Does that mean yes? Rena asked, hardly daring to hope. It means I will recommend to my government that you remain with Captain Daeho, Sukja said, as his wards under human law, with the understanding that you will also learn Valkyrie culture and language. You must not forget where you come from. We won't, Rena promised. But we also won't forget who saved us when our own people couldn't. The arrangements took hours. Papers had to be signed. Officials had to be contacted. Rules had to be checked and rechecked. But by evening it was done. Daeho was officially the legal guardian of 3 Valkyrie cubs. They walked back to the ship together. The cubs were quiet, like they couldn't quite believe it was real. When they got to their room, they stood there awkwardly, not sure what to do now. Get ready for bed, Daeho said gently. It's been a long day. They changed into their sleeping clothes. They climbed into their beds. And they waited. Daeho came in with blankets in his arms, the same silver blankets from that first night. I know things are going to be hard sometimes, he said as he tucked Hana in. I'm not a perfect parent. I don't know all the rules about raising Valkyrie cubs. We're going to make mistakes. That's okay, Hana said, snuggling into her blanket. We make mistakes too. He moved to Taemin's bed. But I promise I'll always try my best. I'll always make sure you're safe and fed and cared for. You'll never doubt that you matter to me. We know, Taemin said, yawning. You show us every day. Finally, he came to Rena's bed. She watched him with those serious eyes as he pulled the blanket up around her shoulders. Thank you, he said softly. For fighting for this. For fighting for us. You fought for us first, Rena reminded him. When our ship was broken and we were alone, you risked everything to save us. That's what family does. Yes, Daeho agreed, his voice thick with emotion. That's what family does. Daeho, Rena said as he was about to turn off the lights. Yes? When you tuck us in with blankets, it means you want us to be safe and warm, right? Right. Next time you're hurt or scared or alone, we'll tuck you in. We'll keep you safe and warm, because that's what family does too. Deho smiled through his tears. Deal. He turned off the lights and closed the door. In the hallway, Byung-ho was waiting with a smile on his old face. Congratulations, Captain. You're a father now. I'm terrified, Deho admitted. Good. Byung-ho laughed. That means you'll take it seriously. Those cubs are lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them, Deho corrected. Years later, people would talk about this moment, when a human cargo captain saved 3 Velkari cubs and changed the relationship between 2 species. When cubs chose gentleness over hardness, and a lonely man chose love over fear. The galaxy was huge and dangerous and cold. But in one small ship, flying through the dark, a family had formed. A human who tucked cubs in with blankets. Cubs who promised to protect him in return. And the understanding that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is care for someone who needs you. That was the real human quality that amazed the galaxy. Not their weapons or their technology or their ability to survive, but their endless capacity to love, even across the deepest divides. Even when it made no logical sense. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. In their beds, wrapped in warm blankets, 3 Velkari cubs slept peacefully. And in the next room, their human father finally let himself believe that everything would be okay. They would face challenges. They would have hard days. But they would face them together, as family the way it should be.